said, why do I keep hearing people say linear as a mean instead of square? Then I had said linear before he said linear.
I those the max. I've been learning like first.
So what did you get for answers? What did you get for answers? Be careful with your answers.
See, now that you said that, I got to double check.
Yep. Be careful with your answers. I don't know. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the LCD between all the terms. The LCD, if I compare 5x minus 1x and 5x minus 1, so there's 5x minus 1, right? Times x. So if I multiply this term to this term, that if you write next to it, this and this will cancel out. So it's going to be left 5x times x. Does that make sense? The x cancels out. But here's the thing. Make sure you put this parenthesis right here. Okay? Because sometimes the negative sign, it's going to affect everything inside the parentheses. So in this case, it's okay. But in other case, you might not be so lucky. So the x and x cancel out, you're left with the 5x minus 1. But if this is a minus, it's going to cause the sign change inside. So don't forget that. Now you see, equal to 5x minus 1 cancel out of the x. So then you have 5x plus 5x minus 1 is equal to x. Now I distribute the positive sign. If it's a negative sign, then it's going to affect all the sign inside, which has happened out of. So I have 5x squared plus 4x, I think.
Yeah.
Minus 1 is equal to 0. So 4 minus 1, 4x, 5x and x, 1 and 1, 5x and x. Which one will be negative?
The bottom.
5x minus 1 times x plus 1 is equal to 0. X is equal to 1/5. X is equal to negative 1. Now, double check the denominator. Okay? So if I plug in negative 1 here, 5 times negative 1 minus 1, it's okay, it's not going to 0. If I plug in here, it's okay. If I plug in, it's okay. So this one's okay. But if I plug in 1 over 5 into here, what will happen? It's going to be 1 minus 1, right?
Yeah.
Denominator is equal to 0.
So 1.
So this is called extraneous. So extraneous solution, that means it's gone.
Did you spell it?
No idea. I think that's pretty close. If I plug in 1 over 5 into one of the denominator, right? So the 5 times 1 over 5. So look at it. 5 times 1 over 5 minus 1. So that's equal to 1 minus 1. That's equal to 0. That means this part is equal to 0. If a denominator equal to 0, it's automatic undefined.
Yep.
So therefore, it's automatic extraneous. And somebody asked me on last period, says, what does it cause extraneous? Because I graph this function, this is going to be a vertical asymptote. So you cannot have that value at all. So you have answer as 1 over 5, then it's going to be within the vertical asymptote. If it's a vertical asymptote, it's automatic, does not define. So that value, it can even exist in this function. It failed the domain of the function. Remember before we found the domain, x cannot equal to 0, x cannot equal to 1 over 5. Therefore, that's part of the domain issue that you're going to create, you're going to meet. Question about this one? No? Okay. Are you sure? If you don't understand, please ask.
How did you get the denominator, like the common denominator?
How do I get common denominator? I compare all three, right? So I line up, so 5x minus 1 and x and 5x minus 1, right? So 5x minus 1 happen. So if I happen, like if they happen only once, so it's going to be 5x minus 1. The x is going to be on the side. So you think about that, if you have x plus 1 over 2 like this, the LCD is going to be 2 times 5. In this case, they're different, so it's going to be x times 5x minus 1. So when you multiply by that, everything denominator is going to go away, so that's the whole goal. The goal is to get rid of the denominator. The goal is to get rid of as much as I can, then I can become a linear equation or a quadratic equation I can solve. Understand?
Yes.
Okay. So those two cases I'm going to go over. x squared plus 2x, I think. Oh no, what is it? Plus 2x. Okay. So when we talk about this one, now this one here, I have 2x over x minus 3 plus 6 minus 2x over x squared minus 9 is equal to x over x plus 3. Now you see this, you say, oh, okay, this is a very difficult question. It's not. You just have to factor it first, okay? And I usually factor the denominator only in this case. I don't factor the numerator because my whole goal is to get rid of the denominator. Because numerator is not causing me a problem. Denominator causes a problem, yes. Yeah. Factor this, right? So it'll be 2x over x minus 3 plus 6 minus 2x over x plus 3 times 3, right? Is equal to x over x 3. And that's a very simple steps. So some people is going to ask me, how do I come up with the LCD? LCD is basically you compare x minus 3. So I compare x minus 3. And I compare x plus 3. And I come minus 3 and x plus 3. Or in this case, they both have x minus 3, so that's x minus 3 is this. And they both have x plus 3, so x plus 3 is, so it's both. But not x squared minus 9 times x plus 3 times x minus 3. Because that's too much. So what we do is we're going to look at this. We're going to multiply everything by the LCD. LCD is going to be what? X minus 3, x plus 3. If I do that, then this one's going to cancel out. X times what? X plus 3. Make sure you have a parenthesis because that parenthesis is very important because it not only distributes to one term but it distributes to two terms. Plus, well, this one's going to be 6 minus 2x, also a parenthesis. Don't forget that parenthesis. That's equal to x times x minus 3. And then that's going to be 2x squared plus 6x, I think. Plus 6 minus 2x is equal to x squared minus 3x. I'm over this is a higher degree, so I'm going to say equal to 0. So it'll be x squared. This one's plus 4x plus 7x, I think.
Yes.
And the plus 6, that's equal to 0. So it'll be x plus and x plus 1 equal to 0. X equal to 6. X equal to 1 negative. Because I moved to the other side.
Yeah.
Is this really difficult?
No.
But don't forget what? Double check the denominator.
Yep.
Can I plug in 6 in here? Well, 6 minus 3 is okay. 6 squared minus 9 is okay. 6 plus 3 is okay. Now, however, in the past, last 12 years I teach, there was one time that the denominator checkout is okay. But then we plug in, actually it's still gonna get undefined. There was one time it happened. It was on the club exam, on the club exam, which was the one that you can get college credit by taking it. It's on the practice exam. It was really weird that not only the denominator it check out is okay, but if you plug in as a whole, it doesn't check out. But that's a very rare case. I would say probably less than 0.05% chance that can happen, but that did happen. So just do extra check. Even you know that denominator is okay, I will still check the whole thing. But that's only do it when you have time. But that's a very rare situation that happened. Now this case is a little bit different. The hardest part is, well, factoring and then determine the LCD. What's the factoring of this part? What's the factoring of this part? 2x what? This is plus 2, right? It's plus 1, minus 1. Plus 2.
Yep.
Are we okay here?
Yes.
Minus 1 over 2x. 3 over x times x. Now determine the LCD, I'll line them up. Okay, well, LCD for the first one is 2x minus 1. times x plus 2. The second one is 2x. The third one, I would pick the first one, so it'll be x plus 2. One of them. I don't pick both, but I pick a higher power if it needed. And I'll pick 2x minus 1, that's pretty unique. And what's 2x and the x? What's the LCD between 2x and x? Well, we can pick x and x first. Pick 2, so that's pretty much the help everything. So LCD is equal to this. So I multiply that by that. So that thing here, if I multiply this by this thing here, we know 2x minus 1 is going to cancel out with the 2x minus 1, x plus 2 can cancel out with x plus 2. What do I have left? 2x squared.
2x squared.
And then 2x is going to cancel out. Now, parentheses, yes, thank you. Somebody pay attention. That parentheses is going to cost you a lot the point in terms of calculus. So if you don't keep that parentheses in line, so I'm going to write it in purple because that parentheses does matter in this case. In the previous case, it never mattered, but this case it does matter. That is equal to, well, x and x cancel out. X plus 2 and x plus 2. 3 times 2 is 6 times 2x minus 1. And now it becomes an equation I can solve. So I'm going to get 2x squared. I'm going to FOIL this. So it'll be 2x squared plus 4x minus x is going to be what? Plus 3x, I think?
Yeah.
Minus 2, thank you. That's equal to 12x. Now I'm going to distribute a negative sign. See, that parenthesis does matter. I'm going to color code this. I don't like color code. People say that's very helpful sometimes. Okay, so now negative sign is going to distribute. So if I distribute a negative minus 2x squared, which is nice, they cancel out, minus 3x, and then plus 2, that's equal to 12x. Am I going too fast?
Yes.
Oh, too bad, I'm just kidding. Those two cancel out, I'll go back, don't worry. And then I'll move this to the other side, so that's going to be 15x, and that's equal to 8, and the x is equal to 8. And more likely that does not cause a denominator issue, so if you plug it in here and here, it does not cause me issue, so there's no extraneous. What I want you to do is solve those two problems and make sure you get an answer correctly and check extraneous. And Destiny says, I'm going too fast, so you want to come over here, I can go over with you. If anybody don't understand, you can come over here, I can explain to you. Before you try those two problems. That's okay.
I'm working on it at a slower pace, but I understand it.
Okay,
So I was
good.
gonna try to solve it and then.
Alright, that's fine.
Which two are
Those two right there. Make sure that parenthesis is the key. If you have parenthesis, all the time you get a wrong answer. So parenthesis is your best friend. Imagine you're writing an essay without comma. That's pretty much you solve a question without parentheses. Okay, that's probably the best analogy I can give to you. Or better yet, probably writing an essay without spacebar. That's how much parentheses in terms of mathematics. So that's why my friend, his linguistic major, his thesis was to learn a language it's not as hard to get a space between words. You can learn a language very fast if you know the vocab. But most of the time, that's why you hear Chinese people talk, they talk very fast because they don't hear the space between words. Or Puerto Ricans. Those of you guys are Puerto Rican know sometimes. A Colombian talk a lot slower. Like you can actually hear space between words. Huh? Dominican? No, but Dominican's pretty good.
Depends on which word that is from. They talk.
Slower. But the Colombian usually talk very, I can understand them. Loud. They always claim that they speak properly, right? Is that true, Daniel?
Yes, it is. Isn't it also true that you guys
That's true. That's not true.
Have you heard-
Colombia usually pretty.
Well, yeah, people.
Puerto Rican are loud.
Yeah, they'd be like,
We're loud.
they're very excitable, let's put it like that.
But if you hear Chinese people talk, you know, like they talk so fast. But the problem is you just don't hear the same words. They don't talk fast.
Spanish is like the second fastest language in the world.
Right?
Yeah. First is Japanese.
Japanese? Konnichiwa. Arigato gozaimasu. And really, they go like full bows.
Yeah.
That's awesome though. I went to Japan.
Yeah.
Like, they are the cleanest country in the whole world. Like, you don't see like a paper wrap on the floor.
Yeah, no, you can, yeah. You can
And what's most amazing is you don't even see a trash can. You don't see trash can anywhere. And like, how do they keep so clean? They don't. You don't see a trash can. You go anywhere, you look for trash can, they
Yeah,
cannot
you know, like
find
how
it.
a lot of people, they like, like, they don't do the.
No, what happened is they do is once they eat something and they drink water bottle and they just put it in their bag and they just take it home and throw it recycle at home. They don't even throw it in the garbage. So like a lot of times like it was like, where's trash can? They were like, we don't have trash can. Like, well, how'd you get it clean? Like, you think the Cypress Creek hallway here? Oh boy. Like if you go to Japan, Japan's gonna have headache. Yeah, like spilling
And I think
like.
you can get like a pretty big fine for it.
Huh?
I think you get like a pretty big fine for it.
No, I don't think they give you a fine, but I think they just they are so clean that you go over there, you feel like you obligate to be that way.
Yeah.
You don't you have to go. You cannot go with any other way because you don't want to be the one that throwing trash somewhere. You like go. You know, you're not allowed to do that. But Japan is awesome. It's like a country we wouldn't do. It's like the cleanest.
I wanna go try food there.
The food is crazy expensive.
Yeah, and it's smaller portions too. Yeah, like, yeah. Like according to
The
some.
hotels over there was